I still remember the smell of morning coffee that day. The same brand I'd been buying since my son was in high school. It was a quiet Saturday, the kind that used to make me feel safe, at peace. The kind of morning where the world feels gentle. Before it decides to break you, dear viewers, kindly subscribe our channel and press bell icon and show your support to us. Let's go ahead. My son, Daniel, hadn't been home in almost 6 months. He lived 3 hours away in a small city, working long hours at a law firm. We used to talk every night, little things like what he had for dinner, what I saw in town that reminded me of him. But lately, the calls had grown shorter, colder. He'd changed. There was a time when he'd tell me everything, every joy, every worry. But now, he just said, "Mom, I'm fine, just busy." And before I could even ask another question, he'd hang up. It's funny how silence can scream louder than words. A few months ago, he told me he was seeing someone. Her name was Elena. He'd said it casually, like it didn't mean much. But I knew my son, his voice had a warmth I hadn't heard in years. I smiled and said, "That's wonderful, honey. I'd love to meet her sometime." He said, "Of course, Mom. You'll love her." But I never met her. Weeks passed, then months. Every time I asked about her, he'd find a way to change the subject. "She's busy. She's out of town. She's meeting some friends." Something about it felt off, not because he was dating someone, but because he was hiding something. And mothers, we always know when our children start hiding things. One evening, while cleaning the attic, I found an old photo album. There were pictures of Daniel's childhood, his first day at school, his awkward teenage smile, his college graduation. Every picture told a story, until it didn't anymore. Because somewhere between those pages, I realized I didn't know who my son had become. I sat there for hours, staring at his photos, wondering if he was okay. I missed his voice, the one that used to tell me everything. The house felt empty without it. A week later, he called me out of the blue. It was late, almost midnight. I picked up instantly. "Daniel, is everything all right?" His tone was light, almost forced. "Yeah, Mom, everything's fine. Just wanted to check in." My heart melted. "You sound tired. Are you eating well?" He chuckled. "Yeah, Mom, don't worry." Then I asked the question that had been burning inside me for months. "So, how's Elena?" Silence. I heard him sigh. "She's good." And then, before I could say another word, he said, "I gotta go. Mom, I'll call you soon." Click. The line went dead. I stared at the phone for a long time after that, the kind of silence that feels heavy, like a secret pressing against your chest. The next morning, I tried to shake it off. I baked his favorite pie, just to remind myself of him. I even sent him a text. "Miss you, sweetheart. When can I see you?" No reply. Not that day. Not the next. Not even the next week. Something inside me knew something was wrong. A month later, I saw his picture on social media. Him, standing with a woman I assumed was Elena. Her smile was beautiful, warm. She had that kind of innocence you can't fake. They looked happy. But I noticed something else, a ring on her finger. At first, I thought maybe it was just a promise ring. But when I zoomed in, I saw it clearly. A wedding band. My heart dropped. Surely, it couldn't be. Surely, he would have told me, right? I waited all day for him to call, to explain, to say something. But he didn't. 3 days later, I finally got the call. But it wasn't Daniel. It was her. "Hello?" I answered, trying to sound calm. Her voice was soft, polite, and nervous. "Hi, this is Elena. I hope I'm not calling too late." "Oh no, dear," I said quickly, my heart racing. "I'm glad you called. I've been wanting to talk to you for so long." She hesitated. Then I asked playfully, with a smile that didn't reach my heart, "So, when's the wedding?" There was silence, a long, heavy silence. Then she whispered, almost afraid of her own words, "We got married yesterday." I froze. I couldn't even breathe. The mug slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. I stared at the pieces, coffee spreading like blood across the tiles. What?" I stammered. You got married?" Her voice cracked. "I'm sorry. Daniel said you didn't want to come, that it would be too hard for you." My knees gave out. I sat on the floor, shaking, my mind blank. Did he really say that? Did my own son think I wouldn't want to see him get married? I felt something inside me break, not loudly, not violently, but like glass cracking in silence. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat in the dark, replaying that one sentence over and over. "We got married yesterday." I tried to call Daniel. He didn't answer. I texted him, "Why didn't you tell me?" No reply. The next morning, I woke up to find my phone still silent. No calls, no messages, just emptiness. I went outside and sat on the porch, watching the sunrise through tears. I didn't even feel fall. A stray cat wandered near my feet. I whispered, "He's really gone, isn't he?" It meowed softly as if answering yes. Days turned into weeks. Neighbors began to notice my absence from church. Mrs. Carson stopped by once, bringing her famous apple cobbler. "You okay, Linda?" she asked. I smiled faintly. "Just tired." She nodded, but I could tell she didn't believe me. People in small towns always sense when something's broken, they just don't say it out loud. A month later, a letter arrived. The handwriting was familiar, Daniel's. My hands trembled as I opened it. It wasn't long, just a few lines. "Mom, I know you're hurt. I didn't mean for it to be this way. Elena and I decided to keep it small, just the two of us. Please understand. I love you. Daniel." No date, no address, no explanation, just words that felt like strangers. I folded the letter slowly, pressed it against my heart, and whispered, "I raised you better than this." That evening, I went for a walk through town. People waved, smiled. I smiled back, but inside, I was hollow. I passed the small church where he used to sing in the choir. The old pastor waved from the door. I forced a smile, then looked away before he could ask the question everyone was wondering. Why wasn't I at my own son's wedding? That night, as I sat alone on the porch again, I saw headlights pull into my driveway. A car door opened. A woman stepped out, even in the dim light. I knew who it was. Elena. She looked fragile, like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She held a small bag in her hands, shaking. I stood up, unsure what to say. She looked at me, tears gathering again. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Parker," she whispered. "I didn't know he hadn't told you." The air felt thick, heavy with truths that hadn't been spoken yet, and as she took a hesitant step closer, I realized something that chilled me to my core. Whatever she came to say, it wasn't going to make things right. It was going to make them worse. Elena stood in front of me like a ghost that didn't know where to rest. Her eyes were red, her voice trembling, and her hands clutched that little bag as if it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The wind moved gently through the porch, the old wooden boards creaking beneath our feet. Then, finally, I said, quietly, "Come inside." She hesitated, then nodded. The moment she stepped through the door, I saw the fear in her face. Not the kind of fear that comes from meeting a stranger, but the kind that comes from knowing something terrible. She looked around, noticing the family photos on the walls, the ones Daniel and I took over the years. Her eyes lingered on one picture, him as a little boy, covered in mud, holding a frog, smiling at the camera. Her lips quivered. "He never told me he smiled like that," she whispered. I poured her some tea. My hands shook as I placed the cup on the table. So, I said softly, you and Daniel got married yesterday. She nodded slowly. I'm sorry, she said again, voice breaking. He told me you didn't want to come. I took a deep breath, trying to hold myself together. And you believed that? Tears slipped down her cheeks. He said you'd never approve of me, that you thought I wasn't good enough for him. Her words hit me like a punch. I felt my chest tighten. I whispered, almost to myself, he told you that? She nodded, eyes full of shame. Then she opened the small bag and pulled out a folded letter. I wasn't supposed to show you this, she said, voice shaking. But I think you need to see it. I unfolded the paper. It was a printed email from Daniel.it. Read, Mom's been controlling my life since I was a kid. She'll never let me marry you. She'll make your life miserable. That's why I'm keeping it a secret for now. Once it's done, she'll have no choice but to accept it. My hands trembled so hard the paper almost slipped away. I felt my throat close up. My own son, the one I'd raised alone, had painted me as a monster. I looked at Elena. She was crying now, whispering, I didn't know, Mrs. Parker. I thought you hated me. I thought you were the reason he didn't invite you. I wanted to hate her, but how could I? She was just another victim of his lies. I sighed deeply. It's not your fault, honey, I said softly. You believed the man you loved. We all do. We sat in silence for a long time. The clock ticked. The tea grew cold. Outside, the town was quiet, the kind of quiet that only comes after everyone's asleep, when secrets can finally breathe. Then Elena spoke again, barely above a whisper. There's something else you should know. My stomach dropped. What is it? She hesitated, wiping her eyes. He didn't just lie to you, Mrs. Parker. He lied to me too. I frowned. What do you mean? She looked down, twisting her wedding ring nervously. He told me he was single when we met, but after we started dating, I found out he wasn't. I froze. Her next words came out like a confession. He was still seeing someone else, another woman from his office. My mind spun. You're saying he cheated? She nodded. Yes, I found out 3 months ago. He begged me to forgive him. He said it was over. He said he loved me, that he wanted to start fresh. I believed him. I thought if we got married, it would fix everything. Her voice broke completely, but on our wedding night, I saw her name pop up on his phone. She started to sob quietly at first, then uncontrollably, and in that moment, I realized that my son, my sweet boy who once brought me flowers for Mother's Day, had become someone I didn't even recognize. I reached across the table and took her hand. Her fingers were cold. Elena, I said softly, you didn't deserve this. She shook her head, tears streaming. Neither did you. We sat there, holding hands, two women bound by the same heartbreak, caused by the same man. After a long silence, she whispered, I think he's afraid to face you. I nodded slowly. He should be. Later that night, I offered her the guest room. She hesitated but accepted. I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing his voice in my head, my little boy's laughter. The way he used to say I love you, Mom, before bed. How did we get here? When did love turn into lies? The house felt colder than it ever had before. Around dawn, I heard a car pull into the driveway. I got up, heart pounding, and looked through the window. It was Daniel. He stepped out, looking exhausted, disheveled like he hadn't slept in days. He saw Elena's car and froze. Then he looked up at the house. I went to the door and opened it before he could knock. For a moment, we just stared at each other. And no words, just pain thick and raw, between a mother and her son. Finally, I said quietly, you should come in. When he walked into the living room and saw Elena sitting on the couch, his face went pale. Elena, what are you doing here? Her voice was sharp but trembling. I came to tell her the truth, Daniel. He looked at me, panic flashing in his eyes. Mom, whatever she said, I cut him off. She didn't have to say much. Your own words did it for you. I held up the letter. He froze. Mom, I can explain. No, I said, my voice calm but cold. You can't explain this. You lied to her. You lied to me. You even lied about who you are. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You did, Daniel. My voice cracked. You hurt everyone who ever loved you. He looked at Elena, pleading. Elena, please, I love you. She shook her head, crying. Love doesn't lie, Daniel. Love doesn't make you hide from your own mother. The room fell silent. The only sound was the clock ticking, slow, heavy, merciless. Finally, I said, you need to leave. He looked stunned. What? You heard me. You need to go. You can't fix this with excuses. You've destroyed too much. He took a step toward me, tears in his eyes. Mom, please, I turned away. I'll always be your mother. But right now, I don't know who you are. He stood there for a long moment, then quietly walked out. The door closed behind him, and with that sound, something in me let go. Elena stayed for a few days. We didn't talk much. Sometimes silence says everything. Words can't. On the third morning, she came to me with her suitcase. I'm leaving, she said softly. I need to find out who I am without him. I nodded, proud of her strength. As she walked to her car, she turned and said, You raised a son who could have been amazing. I'm sorry he forgot who you were. I smiled sadly. He'll remember one day. The truth always finds its way back. She drove off, and for the first time in months, I felt peace. Not happiness, not forgiveness, just peace. Weeks passed. I never heard from Daniel again. No calls, no letters, nothing. But one evening, as I was closing the curtains, I saw a figure standing near the gate. It was him. He didn't come inside. He just stood there, looking at the house, maybe remembering. Then he turned and walked away. I didn't stop him. Some distances are meant to stay. Now, when people in town ask, When's Daniel coming home? I just smile and say, He's already gone. They think I mean he's moved away, and maybe that's true. But the truth is, he left long before that. The moment he started hiding from love, from truth, from me, he was already gone. Sometimes, at night, I still look at his childhood photos and whisper, You can always come back, Daniel. But not with lies, and maybe one day he will. But until then, I live quietly, tending my garden, listening to the wind that carries both memories and forgiveness, because even after everything, after the lies, the betrayal, the silence, a mother's love never disappears. It just learns to survive without being seen.